Hey guys, practice number 4 in the books. Did some good things. Obviously, we're trying to get in game playing shape, so it's going to take work day in and day out to do that. But the mindset of the guys is in the right direction. Starting to get into some situational football, third down and red zone work. Got to continue work, offense, defense, special teams. But all in all, today was not overly pleased with the way we were heading. Right, with the execution offensively and putting the ball on the ground. Ball security's got to be a major factor in what we do. You got no chance to win games with turnovers, and then defensively, we got to just continue to swarm to the ball. Like I've talked about the depth there, but we need our ones and twos playing fast and rapidly and violently with everything.
Start off with Terry Davis.
How you doing, Coach?
Good, Terry. How are you?
That was part of my question is how did you judge your success your first week of practice and how you measure that to start off to sit off the floor?
Terry, I think our guys are picking up the concepts that we're doing. It's weird because you compare a lot of things to last year, and I try to compare it to the years past, but this is a totally different team, right? We're in a totally different stage in college football. I think we have a really good understanding of what we're doing offense, defensively, special teams. So it is a new scheme for the most part. So it's getting those fundamentals down that we want to do in order to execute. We also have the most bodies we've ever had out there at training camp, right? Just with the COVID rule and where our numbers are at. So with that being said, it's just continuing to learn those concepts that we have, get a better understanding, but be able to execute at a high level down. And I think, Terry, the biggest thing is, it's 4 days, right? 2 days in helmets, 2 days in shoulder pads. We just got to continue to work to get in shape. I think our guys work, but I told them, guess what? Every other team in the country is working right now. Most teams go 6 straight days and then take a break. We're going 4 and then give them an off day, off their legs, but they got to continue to push themselves mentally. And then when we get back out here, we're coming out for a good stretch, kind of the meat of camp. Now that the base installs in, we'll continue to put stuff in. But we've got to continue to work. How's my feelings on it? I don't like to grade things, but it's okay. But that's not our standard's not okay. Our standard has to be excellence, and we're not there yet.
Evan and then Frank.
Hey, Ryan, just curious, with the quarterback battle, we know kind of the qualities you're looking for in the quarterback, but just kind of what ways are you grading them maybe just kind of in practice? Like what things are you looking at maybe on the field that are going to help maybe determine kind of which guy is either leading the race or had a good day? Like what are some of the ways you guys are grading the quarterbacks kind of as they go through this?
Yeah, Evan, we grade everything we do. I mean, it starts from right when we get on the field, right, to see how they are, right, from center quarterback exchange, make sure there's no snaps, from the clean exchange from the centers back into their hands, making sure they're doing that. So everything we do during individual, during team, during 7-on-7 is graded. So we grade, the footwork, right, the assignment, right, their techniques on everything we do. And at the end of the day, we sit back and look at those numbers. But reality, you can also get a feel for it, right? I mean, we've seen some guys, let's throw out an example. Brett Favre didn't have the best technique in the world, right? Or Bernie Kosar, right? Sidearm deal. But guess what? It was pretty. Byron Leftwich had a wind up, and sometimes his footwork wasn't great, but a highly successful quarterback. So we look at those things and we grade each practice, but then we see them. Okay, how are the completions? Are they putting the ball? Are they taking coaching? Are they improving every day? And that's the biggest thing is those 4 quarterbacks that are competing for the job, Evan, at least we're seeing the improvements, right? Is it a huge jump every day? No, but it's been gradual. And that's what I'm really pleased with. I'd be nervous. You're saying, man, we're just throwing interceptions left and right. We don't have it. We're going to be a wildcat team. So I do like the progression they're heading. But we grade every single thing they do. And then we take it over, right? If a guy's starting to have a lot of mental errors and mistakes on the field, that's going to really hurt them. And not just at the quarterback position, but every position. I tell these young guys, especially, I said, the quickest way you can get yourself not on the field is by not knowing what to do. And a lot of them, that's what hurts a lot of these true freshmen is they haven't been able to learn the scheme or grasp the scheme. And it's our job as coaches to teach them. But that's what separates a lot of those freshmen that play, not just at talent level. But obviously you have to have a full understanding of what we're doing offensively as a quarterback. So with all that being said, it's a work in progress, but I like the direction they're heading.
Do you feel too that just because the quarterbacks are so young to this offense, I mean, I know Grant and Seth are just getting here. Keelan and Peter have a year, but do you feel like that's kind of something that you're watching to see how quickly they can grasp this with that short time?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, right. They have some of these guys have been in the system and heard the lingo. since the spring, right? They all have, but it's, well, even Seth, but I mean, it's still a lot, right? We're not a simplistic offense, as you guys well know. We try to put a lot on the quarterback position. And I think the question was asked, in the spring by you guys, like, hey, you had the winningest quarterback in Brady White, and he handled a lot on his plate. What's that playbook going to look like for the next guy? And clearly, we got to scale back what we're doing offensively, because if the quarterback can't handle it, Evan, we're just pissing in the wind. So we can't do that. So, the reality of it is, being able to grasp the offense is a huge deal. And mental mistakes, if they show up, practice in and practice out, someone's going to eliminate themselves from the quarterback battle.
Frank and then Brian.
Hey, Ryan, from a conditioning standpoint, how do you feel about your guys today compared to this time last year when they didn't have a spring season?
Well, first off, Frank, good to see you. Welcome again to Memphis. I know I got to hear you in my ear. I couldn't see you at the deal, so it's good to see you. I look forward to seeing you in person at some point soon. And welcome to Memphis. Hope everything's great in this wonderful city. That being said, it's one of those deals. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Re-ask the question for me, Frank, just so I don't sound like a fool.
And appreciate the welcome.
I'm so excited to welcome you.
There we go. From a conditioning standpoint.
Yeah, I got you. Yes, sir. Yeah. So, last year was so different because and you weren't around, but we had these social distance workouts. We were allowed 10 guys on the field at a time, spread out in increments of 10 yards. I mean, it was a totally different deal, right? Plus these guys were gone. So we've been able to have a full off season with them, Terry, since January. And so to me, that's really huge. So I think they worked really hard this summer. Again, I don't know a head coach is going to sit in front of the meeting and say, man, our guys didn't work really hard this summer. We don't have a good strength coach and we're in poor condition. I think they worked really hard this summer, and I think they're in good shape, but football shape's a totally different deal. And, it was a little bit warmer today, and we're getting after it. It's not like we sit there and have an hour of practices. We get after it and practice a little bit. So we are in significantly better shape this year at this time than we were last year, but we're nowhere we need to be, right? September 4th, we all know that Liberty Bowl is going to be blazing, right? It's going to be 105 degrees on that turf. It's probably at 120. Our new SID, Scott Burns, won't be able to handle it because he's a northerner from Indiana. Frank, you may have to go find the air conditioning, but it's going to be hot out there. And so with all that being said, we got to continue to push and practice. And there's a big difference between, working out, and doing some sprints than actually getting out there. And the physicality of the game is what wears you out, right? And then the mental aspects, how are they acting, when it's the second hour of practice and it's hotter than heck out there, we're pushing them. And so we're not where we need to be, but significantly further ahead than we were this time last year.
Yeah. So from an X's and O's standpoint, do you think you're able to push them more at this point than you were last year? Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both know, right? These Zoom meetings get old, and the attention span of 18 to 22-year-old on a computer, when we don't know what their backdrop really is or where they might be, it's harder to hold them accountable. But when they're sitting in team meetings, sitting up straight, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, taking notes and everything, we really feel like they're getting a better grasp of all this stuff. So yeah, I feel like, just understanding, plus, a whole nother year, Frank, in this offense and defensive scheme for a lot of these guys. Well, like we said, we do have new faces, certainly, especially at the quarterback position, but I do feel like we're light years ahead as far as that, especially understanding a brand new defensive scheme.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Brian.
Hey, Coach, I was asking about the offensive line, especially the center position. Is it Robinson versus Likes, or do you have other players in there as well?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, Brian. I think it's, I think Jakari and Jacob are the ones, alternating the reps, and they know it. We also feel like a guy like Braxton Alford could get reps in there, right? Isaac Ellis, we've seen him get some reps in there. So we feel comfortable at position. We know the type of caliber player that Jakari is, coming from Cincinnati. Obviously, he had a great career there. We're glad he's now a Tiger. But then Jacob Likes is really coming on, right? Jacob Likes has an understanding of this offense. He's understood these techniques and fundamentals since we recruited him. He's a local guy that's been a part of this stuff, though. So it's truly a battle. We talk a lot about the quarterback battle, but you're exactly right. And I think, Brian, along those lines, the only guy you could probably pencil in and say this is a starter is probably Dylan Parham. Other than that, I'll tell all those guys that every position's up for grabs up front. Is that a good thing? You know what? And you guys know how much I love the offensive line play and all that stuff. it's good to have competition up there. And I've always talked about what separates our conference from others is, do we have the depth in the trenches? And I feel like we got depth at the offensive line as well. A lot of guys are capable. So I love the fact that they're competing and pushing each other.
Terry?
Hey, Coach, I know this year is going to be a little bit different. You know, you're not going to Lambeth this year. Are you going to be able to do the off the field things, to do the team bonding, in the social projects that you are doing, depending on what the virus tells you to do? Are you going to try to at least do some of that?
Yeah, Terry, that's a great question. You kind of, I think you asked that about a month ago, something similar, which is great. And I appreciate that because, you know, it is more just about football, right? We talk about brotherhood. One of the things we're doing, Terry, because we're not going to Lambeth, I'd love to. I'd love to do the things we're able to do there because I think that team building camaraderie is huge. One, we're still being very smart with COVID and the way we go about things. You know, but the reality is what's happened is, guys, schools have started early and earlier, right? Last year school started, I think, August 15th, right? This year school starts August 23rd. So when school starts, training camp's done. And so when you look at it, in reality, you only get 15 practices of training camp. It's different than the day and age when we got, you know, 3 weeks, right? At least, you know, so as those things go on, where do we put our focus? Because I think if we had 3 weeks, Terry, we could do a lot of things. I'd like to take them to different things around the city, show them different things, build different things, not just about being X's and O's. In reality, so a lot of our education being around each other is in our team meetings at night. So we've had guest speakers. You guys saw Marvin Ellison, right? The CEO and president of Lowe's, a Memphis alum, come and talk to the team. So we're going to do things like that and continue to try to educate our guys from different realms. We got many guest speakers. We're going to have guests out at practices. But be able to get away, it's kind of hard, you know, and that's just the reality of it with the way school's starting. The thing we're doing this year that's different than past is we've got accountability partners. So what I did was I said, okay, and it was almost like a random selection, but we kind of tried to do offense, defense, and then, you know, some special teamers mixed in. But like we may have JJ Russell, right, a senior linebacker from Mississippi, tied in, right, with a freshman offensive line from Georgia, right? And so two different guys, two different backgrounds. And what I've called them accountability partners. And I want them to get to know, right? We have a picture of every family member in the back of each individual's locker, right? Or whoever is important to them. I want them to get to know each other a little bit. So guess what? They don't know this, but tomorrow, right, they've got a meal. And at that meal, they're going to have to sit down together with their accountability partner. They're going to put their cell phones all on the table. They're not allowed to use their cell phones, which, as you guys can imagine, I know how bad it is for you guys, right? Imagine these kids, these college football players, right, coming off the practice field. So they're going to put their cell phones away and they're going to have conversations, adult conversations, get to know each other, get to know each other's families, and get a better understanding. You know, that's what we're trying to do. We'll continue to push in that direction. But I think this team likes each other. Hopefully they like to battle on the field against each other as well. But we're going to continue to try to do things, Terry, that build that camaraderie. But great question. I love the fact you care about that team aspect, which is huge.
All right. Thank you, Coach Silverfield.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a great evening.